evening, Roseville, and on behalf of commissioners and staff, I'd like to welcome you to the February 15th, 2022 meeting of the City's Transportation Commission. At this time, will everyone please put your personal electronic devices to silent mode? And if everyone wants to follow along with the agenda, they're available there at the staff table, and for all of you watching online, they're also available at the city's website for the Transportation Commission. Anyone planning on speaking at tonight's meeting, if you could please fill out one of the cards and leave it at the staff table. Lainey, can you please call the roll?
Sure. Commissioner Lasrica.
Here.
Commissioner Festerson.
Here.
Commissioner Groff.
Here.
Commissioner Huskins. Commissioner Eisenhower.
Present.
Commissioner Probst.
Here.
Commissioner Radford.
Here.
And Chair Short.
Here, and a special welcome to our new commissioner, Commissioner Lasrica. Welcome.
Yeah.
What high school are you from?
Oakmont High School.
Awesome. Congratulations. Go Vikings. And Commissioner Husking, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. We're now down on item 4, public comments. This is a time for anyone who would like to address the commission on any transportation-related item not on tonight's agenda. Please restrict your comments to issues that are within our subject jurisdiction and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Because of the Brown Act, we are, with certain exceptions, not allowed to discuss or take action on any issues that are not listed on the agenda. And if you do speak, please state your name for the record. Are there any public comment? Seeing none, and with so many people in the room too, we'll close public comment. Next, we'll move on to item 5. This is the approval for the November 16th, 2021 minutes. I hope everyone's had the opportunity to review. And I'll entertain a motion to approve them.
So moved.
Motion, Commissioner Husking, second, Commissioner Groff. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes unanimously. And we will now move on to item 6.1, appointment of the chair and vice chair for 2022. At this time, if anyone wants to nominate someone to be chair for 2022, if anyone would like to nominate themselves.
Through the chair, if I may. This last year with the pandemic felt like, what did we have, one meeting here, live meeting? So again, I mean, just talking openly, I would really like to consider making the motion. Actually, I will make the motion just to reappoint Commissioner Short for our chair.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I'd like to second that motion. I believe Commissioner Short has some items or some plans to get the sense of value of this commission out to the public and create some worthy experiences for everybody to see. So I think there's some good things still to come this year. So second the motion.
Appreciate that. Is there anyone else who would like to put forth a nomination? Hearing none, there is a motion by Commissioner Radford and a second by Commissioner Groff to reappoint Commissioner Short as chair for 2022. Do we do these separately?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll do that. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. I appreciate your confidence in me and the ability to lead for a second year. As you mentioned, given that the first, we didn't have very many opportunities to gather together. So I appreciate that. And I will note that this is also my 8th and final year on the commission. So thank you. Let's now entertain motions for the position of vice chair for 2022. Does anyone have any nominations for vice chair?
Through the chair, being that I fumbled my way through that first one, I'd like to redeem myself and nominate Commissioner Probst for vice chair, continuing the tradition.
I'll second that.
there any other nominations for the position of vice chair? Hearing none. Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, the motion is adopted. We will now move on to item 6.2. This is fiscal year 2021 transit performance report. There will be an action required. Staff, may we please have the presentation?
Sure. Here to present on our behalf is Ed Schofield, Transit Operations Analyst.
All right. Good evening, Chairperson Short, members of the Commission. The item before you is Roseville's year-end transit performance report. This report covers ridership numbers, performance measures, and current planning projects. The ridership numbers and performance measures are for fiscal year 21, which was from July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2021. Staff provided ridership and planning updates to the Commission last November. However, at that time, key financial data was not available. This update includes the financial data as well as some updated information on ridership and planning projects. So ridership continues to be lower than historical averages due mainly to the COVID pandemic. As a reminder, Roseville offers 3 types of service. We have dial-a-ride paratransit, commuter service, and fixed route service. This slide up right now shows total fiscal year 21 ridership figures for all 3 services, as well as overall numbers in comparison to the same quarter in fiscal year 20. For fiscal year 21, this was the first full year of COVID-impacted ridership numbers. The state stay-at-home order went into effect in March 2020 and continued until January 2021. However, COVID-related issues such as the Delta variant continued to influence ridership. Overall, fiscal year 21 ridership was down 53% compared to the previous year. However, it should be noted that fiscal year 20 ridership consisted of 3 quarters of pre-COVID ridership and 1 quarter of COVID-impacted ridership. The largest hit to our ridership, as expected, was our commuter service. With this, commuter ridership numbers were down 88% from the previous year. With the state of California continuing to encourage remote or hybrid work schedules, these numbers are expected to remain below historical averages for the foreseeable future. This slide was one we showed back in November. However, it's been updated to include the most recent quarter. Ridership, while still below historical averages, is holding steady around 35,000 overall riders per quarter. The first 2 bars to the left there, going left to right, are pre-COVID ridership numbers. The 3rd bar is the first quarter in which ridership was impacted by COVID. So as you can see, ridership has remained relatively steady, but well below our pre-COVID numbers. Truthfully, this type of graph is representative of almost every transit agency in the country. According to the American Public Transit Association, or APTA, public transit ridership dropped by nearly 80% in April of 2020 and has remained more than 60% below pre-COVID levels. APTA's expectation is that ridership will remain at current levels through the first half of this year and slowly grow in the second half of the year as people become more comfortable using transit again. However, ridership is expected to remain below historical averages through at least 2023. So while there are a number of service quality measurements that are provided in your report, I wanted to briefly discuss 2 of the measurements tonight. The current slide deals with our Farebox Recovery. Farebox Recovery is the percentage of transit operating expenses that are covered by revenues from transit fares. In addition to passenger fares, additional revenue sources that go into the percentage include advertisement revenue and payments from other government entities that support transit services. Roseville Transit's minimum Farebox recovery ratio is 15% system-wide. Under normal circumstances, if Roseville Transit was below this established minimum standard, we would be required to adjust services to increase fare collection and or reduce operational costs in order to reach the minimum standard. However, because transit agencies across the state continue to be below the minimum Farebox recovery ratio, Governor Newsom signed Assembly Bill 149, which provides statutory relief for those requirements through fiscal year 23. So with this in mind, you'll see that Roseville's combined farebox recovery was 8.9%. It's a low percentage, but unfortunately this is quite common throughout the country. To address the nationwide reduction in transit ridership and subsequent drop in farebox revenue, the U.S. government has included transit funding in a number of relief bills to help transit agencies overcome the financial impacts of the COVID pandemic. Roseville Transit has received $2.6 million from the Federal CARES Act and $2.4 million in the American Rescue Plan Act to support transit operations. These transit relief funds are to be prioritized for transit operations to help agencies maintain existing levels of service and prevent reductions in staff. Let's see. One other quality measurement I just wanted to quickly mention was Roseville's on-time performance. This measurement is one of the most important measurements we review. From a rider's perspective, this is also one of the most important items when it comes to riding transit. A bus that's constantly running late is unreliable, can have a negative impact on our riders using transit to get to their destinations. I'm happy to say that all three services have a 93% or higher on-time performance, which is within range of our current standards. So at this time, I'd like to provide a brief update to the Commission on key planning projects. One of the things we're actively engaged in is initiating a microtransit pilot program within the City of Roseville. And as a reminder, microtransit is considered a flexible transit, as you see up there. It allows agencies to offer an on-demand option that is more flexible than fixed route buses. It's sort of like an Uber or Lyft program. As we reported last November, staff is working with other Placer County transit operators to hire a company to evaluate and ultimately implement microtransit service in Placer County, including a pilot program within the City of Roseville. A joint RFP was released last December. We received 9 proposals in January, and staff is currently reviewing the proposals. A short list of proposals will be selected for presentations. Once we hire the consultant, the first step will be to recommend a selected area within Roseville to implement a 1-year pilot program. If successful, staff will then look at expanding the microtransit opportunities to other locations throughout the city. Another key planning project is the South Placer Express bus service. The South Placer Express will provide limited stop weekday bus service every 30 minutes between Lincoln and the Watt I-80 light rail station. This service will be operated by 5 electric buses and will provide South Placer County residents greater access to key destinations in the region, such as the Galleria, Kaiser and Sutter medical facilities, and the light rail station. Since we last discussed this project in November, staff has hired a consultant to advance design work on 2 overhead chargers that will be built at the Galleria. These chargers will help keep the buses charged throughout each day until they can get a full charge in the evening back at the courtyard. And speaking of the buses, staff has begun meeting with Proterra to design and ultimately purchase these 5 buses. We remain on target to begin this new service in spring or summer of 2023. In addition to the 5 South Placer Express buses, the city is in the process of purchasing 5 additional electric buses to replace some existing older diesel buses. And as part of this process, the city will be building an electric charging station at the city's courtyard. These 5 electric buses are currently being produced by Proterra. Our initial schedule showed that the buses would arrive in November this year. However, Proterra recently shared with us that supply chain issues have resulted in the delivery date being pushed back to January of 23. As for construction of the charging station at the city's courtyard, construction of the new facility remains on schedule to begin this spring, and completion is scheduled for the end of this year, which is just prior to the arrival of the first 5 buses. In our last slide here, at our last commission meeting, staff shared that a grant application had been submitted seeking funding for a comprehensive operational analysis, or a COA, of Roseville Transit. The COA will analyze Roseville's existing bus service and will look at ways to improve the services to make transit a more viable option for city residents. On the heels of the COVID pandemic, this seems like a perfect time to do complete analysis of our existing services to look at better ways to serve our passengers. Staff has not received any updates on the status of the grant application since we last met, so there's no new news. However, if we are unsuccessful in receiving these grant funds, staff will continue to look for opportunities to fund and implement a COA. We'll keep the Commission updated on the status of that grant. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, as a reminder, and for Commissioner Lasarica, so you know the process, we're going to look to the Commission for any quick clarifying questions before opening it up to the public, and then after the public's had a chance to weigh in, we'll bring it back here for a more full discussion amongst the Commissioners. So are there any quick clarifying questions for staff? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to open the public hearing, or the public comment. Seeing no public comment, we're going to close the public comment period and bring it back up here for discussion. Start on this side. Anybody on this side? I have just one question, if no one else has anything. So unfortunately, well, fortunately or unfortunately, amongst my friend group, there's a lot of teachers. So I was talking to them about the microbus transit, and the question came up, how does, youth or minors, how does that work with them? I mean, I know we're not the only city looking at doing this. What are other cities doing? And if this is way too soon in the process to ask this question, I understand. But the question came up, so I thought I'd ask.
It's a great question. I'll say that they're probably going to be pretty good at downloading the app for this. The key for them will be payment of fare. And so, the app can take a variety of payments. So in our review of that, there's lots of different payment forms available. So if they're working with their parent, they'll have to somehow create a credit card upload, or maybe their parent can load cash onto their account, and then they'll be able to ride based upon the cash that's basically in their account on their phone. So there are going to be ways for them to ride. It's just, the challenge is how do they pay,
Right.
So, and we'll still accept cash on board as well. So that's going to be an option.
Okay.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, how many miles do these buses go on a full charge?
Which, are you talking about the microtransit buses?
Electric ones?
Yeah, so it depends on the bus that we're purchasing. So we have 3 buses that we're looking at right now. One is our commuter bus.
Right.
And we're buying what we would call a fairly long-range bus of about advertised 150 miles on a charge. Most of our commuter routes are less than that, or all of them are. So we're very confident that we'll be able to run the routes, but we'll be verifying that in the real world here soon. Then for the South Placer Express, we're buying a bus with more batteries on board. So that one's going to be up in the 200-mile range, but it's also going to get that midday charge at the Galleria. So it should hopefully be able to keep circulating maybe a few hundred miles in a day. And then,
If they run out of charge.
well, hopefully they won't run out, but there may be times when we have to, bring a bus out of service midday and switch it out. That's something that happens with electric buses. Then we are looking into some vans which have a lower mileage range, and so they'll probably have a higher likelihood of, maybe going out for a half day until they have to charge. Yeah.
Through the chair, I like to report, Ed, and it sounds like January, by this time next year, we have some more electric buses coming. My question is, where are we at currently with our fleet as far as fossil fuel, diesel, or gas, traditional buses to the electric? I know we had a goal, and it seems like we're ahead of that, but where are we at with our fleet? What percentage of our commuter and in-town buses are electric now?
Sure. So the purchases that Ed referred to, those are our first purchases. So right now, all of our local and commuter buses are diesel. All of our cutaway, or what we call dial-a-ride buses, those are gas-powered. The state's Innovative Clean Transit Rule says that beginning in 2026, all of our purchases have to include a zero-emission component. So we are ahead of the curve. We'll have at least 2 purchases complete before that even happens, and hopefully maybe a 3rd or 4th, depending upon grant funding and whatnot. So.
Yeah, I was going to add to that. Our asset management plan shows the next 3 years we're going to have additional purchases each year of different types of buses, whether it be commuter or the cutaway buses. So you'll start seeing more and more of those coming through here. We'll be updating the commission on those.
Thank you.
I had one question. How secure are these charging facilities that are going to be at the gallery? And is there like are there valuable parts in here or anything that in the past has been proven to be a attraction for thieves?
Well, it's a good question, and I think we may want to put that down on our list of questions to ask the provider. But, as with anything electrical, there's copper wiring.
That's why I asked.
In the area. Yeah. Now, this is like super high voltage stuff, so hopefully nobody's going to go in there trying to pull the wire because it may not go well for them.
Yeah.
But that's probably the biggest concern. It's a pretty sturdy, system where you're going to go from a transformer underground to a big pole-mounted cantilevered charger. It's going to be very difficult for someone to get into it, I believe. But it's going to be in an open, area. But something that we should follow up on. Thanks.
Thanks.
Any other questions from commissioners?
Yeah, I have one.
Yeah, please.
Farebox recovery ratio with these electric buses, are we expecting the operational overhead to be a little bit lower, and so therefore we could see an increase in the farebox ratio? Or are we expecting a higher operational cost, which would then impact the farebox ratio?
It's a great question. I think over time we may see reduced fuel cost and reduced maintenance costs. But that's going to be balanced by potentially replacing batteries and whatnot. So I think there's some potential for reduced expenditures on the maintenance side, but that's still, to be seen in the future. Did you have anything to add?
That's what I was
Yeah.
I had a question. I was wondering, do we have a working relationship with, say, Sacramento? If one of our electric buses was in Sacramento, we needed a charge. Is that a friendly opportunity to get a quick charge so we can get back to Roseville?
Yeah. Well, we have actually, yes, there is. We've been working through SACOG, but kind of a joint effort with all the transit agencies to build a charging facility in Sacramento to which the buses could use, whether it's, just coming by or they leave them, like our commuter buses could come in the morning, drop off passengers, and then go park and then charge, and then pick up passengers in the afternoon and bring them back. So the current location is kind of under the WX freeway, if you know that area. But yeah, there is a broad discussion going on right now to address that very issue. But it's in the preliminary stages right now.
Thank you.
And then I have another question. On your comprehensive operational analysis, or COA, have you looked at route optimization? And if so, is that going to be part of the COA, or is that an ongoing policy through Roseville Transit? And if so, when's the last time you guys looked at route optimization?
So, yes, we will be looking at route optimization. The last time we looked at that was when the short-range transit plan was adopted in 2019, and we were about to begin, some of the more detailed planning processes at that time when COVID hit. So we kind of took a break, and I think we're well positioned now as we're coming out of COVID to rethink our transit options. The last major route change we had was in 2016, actually. So it's been a while. Yeah.
Any other questions or comments from commissioners? I've actually got one more based off of Commissioner Husking and Festerson's line of questioning here. When you said that the electric buses have a range of give or take 150 miles, is that a fully loaded bus, or does that make a difference? I don't know.
When we did the analysis in our business plan, that assumed a high level of loading for the bus.
I'm imagining a Game Day Express that gets stuck after the game as a worst case scenario. Okay, one last chance. Any other questions or comments? All right. Thank you very much, Ed. We appreciate that. Let's move on to item 6.3, safe routes.
I think you need to make.
Oh, that's right. There is an action item. I appreciate that.
I'll make a motion that we accept the report as given.
Motion from Commissioner Husking. Is there a second? Second from Commissioner Probst. All those in favor, do we need a roll call for this? No. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Laney, for saving us. Now, we'll move on to item 6.3, Safe Routes to School Update. May we please have the presentation?
Indeed, and good evening, Commissioners. I wanted to start the presentation by introducing Suzanne Engelke. I think this is maybe her first time before the Commission. Suzanne's been an employee with Alternative Transportation Division for about 7 years, but was recently promoted to Alternative Transportation Analyst overseeing bikeways. Part of her new role is also overseeing safe routes to school. So take it away, Suzanne.
Thank you, Mike. Good evening, Commissioners. I'm here today to tell you about some recent transportation programs happening in our community, and you'll see an update on this in your packets. So a couple of brief highlights from that. City staff members presented a bicycle, helmet, and pedestrian safety assembly at Woodbridge Elementary School on January 10th as part of our Safe Routes to School program. 3 separate presentations were given, one to the 3rd grade class, one to the 4th grade class, and another to the 5th grade class, and this reached nearly 200 students. Education programs like this are important in teaching our children how to be safe when traveling to and from school and when they're out in the community. This assembly was well received by the students and the school administrators alike, and our staff are working to schedule more assemblies at other schools. The Safe Routes to School program is funded by an active transportation program grant and by local transportation funds. Another exciting update I wanted to tell you about was on last Wednesday, February 9th, was Crossing Guard Appreciation Day in Roseville. Nationally, on the second Wednesday in February, schools celebrate the work crossing guards do in keeping our kids safe. Ahead of time, students, parents, and school staff were told of this special day, and they were encouraged to write letters, to send cards, or say thanks to the guards at their school. The City of Roseville employs 20 paid crossing guards and 3 volunteer crossing guards. And the Crossing Guard program is funded primarily through local transportation fund and with some support from the local schools. Do you have any questions?
Thank you. Are there any quick clarifying questions for Suzanne? Seeing none, we will open it up to the public if there's any public comment on this item. Seeing none, we'll bring it back up for questions and comments from the commission. We'll start on this side this time.
For the crossing guards, we have approximately 23. Does that include enough for every school that the city of Roseville has? Or are we missing a crossing guard at key locations or certain schools that you're aware of?
Not every school has a crossing guard. What we do is we do traffic studies, and then those schools that warrant a crossing guard, those where our crossing guards go. And we do different traffic studies throughout the year. Sometimes people request them, and we'll go out and we'll study the traffic around the schools.
Any other questions?
Is it only elementary school that has a crossing guard, or?
It's elementary and middle schools.
Because I've never seen one up by, what is it called now, Ike? on Oak Ridge?
I don't know all of the schools that have crossing guards, but I think that might be one.
Haven't seen them.
Seen them? They'd be there early in the morning
Maybe they
and
haven't
in the
been there right
afternoon.
now. Yeah.
You talking the Sierra Garden side? Oak Ridge?
Yeah, the old Sierra Gardens, yeah.
We can check on that.
Okay.
Other questions or comment?
Question. First of all, welcome
Thank
to your first meeting here. Do you have the police department come out to the events for the kids?
From time to time. Sometimes they are able to, and sometimes they're not.
I can tell you that
Assembly.
the kids on bike days, they love to see the motorcycles. And they love to see the motorcycles go through the same little coding patterns that they do on their bikes. Kind of gives them a sense of that they're in the big leagues as well when they're on their bikes. And it also reinforces to the kids the safety aspects of wearing helmets, because you see the motorcycle officers show up wearing helmets as well. So they tend to emulate who they might respect. Also, what kind of training, can you talk to or speak to a little bit about the training that goes on for the crossing guards?
You know, I haven't been to a training, but they do receive a training before they get out there. So they are trained. Our staff member does the training each summer for new and returning crossing guards. Many of our crossing guards have been there a long time. In fact, one of them just celebrated, was it 15 years as a crossing guard?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think also our trainer has a police officer come out and help with training, at least part of it. So it's usually set up to be a week or two in advance of the start of the school year. So get them fresh right when they're about to get out there. And then if we get a new crossing guard during the middle of the year, they'd get trained as well.
Okay, and do you know if the training includes like any medical training, CPR, anything like that?
That I don't know.
Okay, just a comment.
We can find out.
But yeah, I would actually like to comment and commend the crossing guard. I don't know her name, who's at Wood Creek Oaks and Parkside, I believe it is, that intersection where the stop signs were recently put in. Yeah, even before those stop signs were put in, that's quite the job. It's a lot of traffic moving through there. A lot of people need to slow down quickly. She's been there for a long, long time. I've spoken to her a few different times. So she handles business. So if the rest of your crossing guards handle business like she does, then you got a good crew. So thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? All right. Well, I'll just say quickly, I hope that the outreach to the schools or the districts or however that goes is going well. I think that's a great program. And we certainly, on behalf of the commission, want to express our gratitude for the crossing guards of Roseville and keeping our kids safe. So thank you for that recognition day. The social media push I saw was good. So thank you very much. All right. If there's nothing else on that, we will move on to item 7, commission and staff reports. Commissioners, any items to report? Start on this side.
I have a question.
Please.
The report that we had that Oak Ridge speed limit has gone down, I'm assuming that's an overall average? Because it hasn't gone down during certain times of the day. And why I'm concerned about the crossing guard, when those moms take kids to school, they go like a bat out of you-know-where. Just, you'd think the road was miles and miles long. Getting out of my driveway, and not only me, but anyone else there, takes a good 5-6 minutes. And if you start to come out, they sit on the horn because you're coming out of your driveway. It's a small window of time, but boy, do they ever go fast. And they had the little thing up, you're going whatever speed, was right at the bottom of the hill, and I thought, well, that's not a good place to put it, because as people came over, it was like, oh, I'd better go slow because that's there. If it was up further, they would have already gotten their speed up. But, you know, I would say it's 2 times during the day when they take them to school. They're not quite as big a hurry going home, but boy, they are speed demons.
Okay. We can pass the word on to our traffic engineers and police department about that. I don't know was the speed feedback sign associated with the construction work there?
No, it was associated with the request that we look into speeding out there. So,
Okay.
that was put out there. We got 24-hour volumes and speeds. So we saw all the peaks and stuff, but it turned out to be, I probably should go up there and talk.
Sure, go for it.
Well, we used to have a motorcycle police officer would sit in my driveway. They're more than welcome to sit there. That really slows them down.
My name is Jason Shaikowski. I'm the Public Works Director. Traffic engineering did set up some speed hoses, did some speed surveys, looked at the speeds all day long, and they did see some of those spikes you were talking about. So PD put out their sign, and they were going to look for targeted enforcement times. I don't know if they've gone out there to do that or not. They're always struggling with having sufficient staffing to deal with police work and traffic enforcement, so they may not have gotten out there yet. But we did see some of those spikes you were talking about at certain times, but it was not a lot of cars doing it. So, when we look at the speed limit, we're looking at, like you said, almost an average. It's not quite an average. It's 85th percentile, meaning 85% of the cars are going that speed or slower. And so the really fast cars you're seeing are kind of outliers. And I know those are a big deal. You're right, because it only takes one fast car to cause a problem. They're just more difficult to catch when there's only one. If everyone's doing it, you can get out there and educate them all day long. But if you have to look for a particular car or two, it's hard to figure out when they're there unless you know an exact time when you see them. So I'll talk with Jana.
One time, they did the speed and everything, and they raised the speed limit. Please don't do that. They're going to go twice as fast.
Yeah, that's the tough part, is we're required by state law to set speed limits via certain factors. And if the average speed limit or the 85th percentile speed limit goes up, so does the speed out there. I mean, that's state law. There's some stuff in the works to change that, starting at the federal level in the MUTCD to allow some more flexibility with setting radar enforceable speed limits. So we'll be watching that in the future. I don't suspect it will go up more than it is now, and we will work very hard to try to make sure it doesn't. And I will talk with our traffic engineer again and see if any police enforcement's been out there.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Jason?
Yeah.
MUTCD?
Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices. Sorry, I've been doing traffic engineering for 20 years, and it's just second language now.
I get it. Thank you. Any other commissioner reports on the side? I have one. One of the things, and I spoke with Mike about this, one of the things that I would like to see is a greater level of education and awareness about the types of issues that we work on here at the commission, not only for our commissioners, but the opportunity for the public as well. So one of the things that I would like to see, and again, Mike, we spoke about this, is the ability to get the commission on a bus or out on some of the trails and really have an understanding of what it is we're talking about there on the ground, with the opportunity to ask questions and really be able to get that education. And then an additional, I guess, challenge to commissioners is get out there on the facilities that we kind of have jurisdiction over. I'm on my, bike walk trail in my neighborhood almost every day, but there are so many trails I've never been on in Roseville, across the city. I mean, gosh, I haven't ridden a bus in probably, I don't know, it's been years. So for this year, I'd like to challenge the commissioners to do some of self-education as well, and just make sure we all have that on the ground, boots on the ground awareness of the items we're discussing. So I don't know, Mike, if you want to.
I would just say if it's the commission's prerogative, we can look into arranging a tour where we can go out and see some of the key transit and bikeway facilities that we have out there, or whatever other transportation related things that you'd like to look at, maybe major road project locations. So Yeah, we'd be more than happy to arrange that. We've done that in the past. As I mentioned, it's been a long time, but maybe time to do that.
Yeah, I haven't had the opportunity, and a lot of that is because of what's transpired in the last few years globally, not on you guys all. But I would like to encourage that, and certainly I think, well beyond this year. Hopefully we, I'm not trying to obligate us to do every facility this year, but I would say if there are any that this year's commission is especially interested in seeing, let us know, or maybe let Mike know. I'm open to just about anything, but yeah, thank you.
Yeah, great. Just send an email, and I think we'd maybe look towards when we get some good weather, April, May timeframe.
Mm-hmm. Jason?
No, I think that would be very informative. As someone that works at Caltrans and I work for the Division of Maintenance, I'm intimately familiar with work zones. And I know, obviously, Commissioner Goff's a law enforcement officer. You are as well, more than most of us will be. But I think it's a great idea, Commissioner Short, just when you're on the ground, you're actually near that traffic going by, it really gives you a palpable, discernible sense of what's at stake. I mean, it really is when they're zooming by you, whether it's, whether we're shadowing a crosswalk guard or someone like that. It really makes you really appreciate what they do. So, and it really kind of hammers the point home. So I think that'd be great, and I'd be game for whatever.
That's a good idea too, shadowing a crossing guard.
In the past, we've done that on a weekday. So I think we may need to do some sort of doodle poll and see if we can't find an opportunity for most of you or all of you to go.
Thank you. Okay. All right, one last chance, commissioners. Anything to report? Staff, any reports?
I just wanted to share with you that we are planning on meeting in March, 2 months in a row. Can you believe it? We'll be having an update, CIP update, so our capital improvement program update. Share with you some of the projects that we have in the works, and then we'll also be sharing with you transportation system management program, some updates we're planning with that program just to get your initial feedback on that. And so that's our program where we're out working with business owners and others to try to get the word out about alternative modes that are available and trying to encourage mode shift. So we'll have those 2 items next month.
We'll look forward to it. Thank you. All right, with no other business before us, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
Motion, Commissioner Radford, second, Commissioner Husking. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned at 6:43. Thank you.